Hello, and welcome back to Disc Coverers, the only podcast on the internet that reads, reviews, and ranks all of Terry Pratchett's seminal Discworld series of comic fantasy novels. I am your host, Iris J. She, Z, or they. I'm trying out those neo-pronouns. It's been really fun.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Been really self-gratifying. I feel like a real weirdo. It's great. Why don't y'all introduce yourselves too, my lovely co-hosts?
I am still BALINA. I'm still here. I am still she, they. And that's all that really matters right now.
I am still JUNIPER. Usually when I go to trans meetups, I write down my pronouns as she, her, goddess. Pick as you choose. And I am so excited for this, and I'm trying to be quiet. Finish the introduction so we can yell about this book.
And I am, as always, the internet's beloved Princess Grace. She, her, fey, fair.
Ooh.
Fun.
We're happy that you joined us this week, because this week we read number 8 in the Discworld series, Guards, the first Discworld novel to feature... Thank you. The first good one, and the first Discworld novel to feature Samuel Vimes and The Watch in its embryonic stages. It also features a subplot about kings, even though I know last episode we said that there wouldn't be any more books about kings for a while. That was a fake out. This one's extremely about kings.
Bamboozled.
Well, again, I said this one off the podcast, but the main thing this one has to say about kings is they are exactly like gender. They are completely fake and should be abolished.
Yes.
Yeah, there's kings in the book, but, it's mostly to, so that Pratchett can yell about kings.
I have thoughts about how this book talks about kings, and I have thoughts about how this book and many things talk about gender. I've been writing an essay about it all week.
Oh,
but
fuck
unfortunately, this is a Pratchett podcast and not a gender podcast.
Yes.
We have a while before we reach Monstrous Regiment, at least.
So, before we kick into spirited discussion of the goings-on within this tome, why don't we turn to our synoptrix, BALINA, for a quick rundown on the plot of this story. BALINA, whenever you're ready, feel free to take it away.
The unique and supreme lodge are the Ludicated Brethren of the Ebon Knight, one of any number of interchangeable secret societies planning to overthrow the social order of Ankh-Morpork, steal a book on dragon summoning from the Unseen University Library. Using it, they plan to scare the city with a summoned dragon and install a puppet king. I don't mean to make them sound competent, but that's a summary for you. Meanwhile, Carrot Ironfounderson, human raised by dwarves, is sent to Ankh-Morpork to join the Watch, as this was mistakenly believed to be a worthwhile cause by the people with the comfort of distance from the city. In actuality, it's down to just 3 people, none of whom were even what a fantasy novel would refer to as a good cop. Carrot's optimism and enthusiasm somehow drag the rest of the Watch into accidentally fulfilling their duties, and they get caught up in the messes that the dragon's making and are assigned to figure out what's all this then. Captain Samuel Vimes starts doing detective work for perhaps the first time in his life, meeting Lady Sybil Ramkin, a notable breeder of swamp dragons, and almost but not quite manages to get to the bottom of things before the Supreme Lodge of the Whatever finish their plot, having their fake heir to the throne quote-unquote vanquish the dragon and claim the throne of Ankh. Shortly thereafter, the dragon figures out how to summon itself and proceeds to burn down the secret society, declare itself king, and generally make a mess of things. Vimes and company proceed to attempt several methods to put down the dragon, but in the end it all comes down to Errol, Watch mascot/pet, who has been inventing rocket propulsion and supersonic mating dances to impress the capital D dragon, who it turns out is a lady because Sir Terry was too afraid to make the dragons gay. Love wins, sort of.
Wow.
That was really impressive.
You covered a lot of ground in that. God damn. Well done.
That's honestly better than the Wikipedia summary. That's damning with faint praise. You did an excellent job.
Yeah, I will be honest, I usually reread the Wikipedia summary just to refresh and try to get the utter highlights, but this one was dense.
Yeah.
This was meatier than any of the others we've read so far.
I think we may have to, as incredibly impressive as that was, I think we may need to stop doing the whole 60-second synopsis.
Yeah.
We're going to need to push that, I think.
Maybe pushing it out to 2 minutes or something, or just as long as you need, really. It's never...
Yeah, I mean, I still like the bit of just doing this sort of micro-machining through the whole thing.
I did remember what the next book is. You get one more, and then we have
Yes, you can do it for the next one.
I will see if I can get that one down to 30 seconds.
And then we'll
Nice
start,
last hurrah.
and then we'll start figuring out how to do it longer. But yeah, this book was dense. It had
Yeah.
so much in it.
A lot of shit happens, and the shit matters.
I have to say that was the one thing I really, really appreciated about this book after so many books where it felt like just all of the random B plots and details going on were just kind of there and annoying. Even though I had problems with a lot of this book, the fact that it all came together pretty regularly over and over was amazing. It felt great. It felt like a good book.
Yeah, I feel like that's why, this book feels... We've been talking oh, this is the first real Discworld book, blah, 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 blah. And I feel like most of that could be chalked up not to the fact that, Terry suddenly gets magically better at writing characters or whatever, but because he's working within the mien of a mystery novel for this, it provides a sense of structure and pacing to his writing that was missing before. Mm-hmm. So it feels like it has, a framework to hang on more. And while there are still definitely some pacing issues, it feels more it feels like he didn't just start from zero. It feels like he didn't just start from the beginning and just write till it was done.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
This was a much more constrained novel than the previous ones. There's the very brief little prologue involving, Carrot being sent out to Ankh-Morpork, but everything else takes place inside of Ankh-Morpork, and I think that helps a lot.
Oh, I think it helps it. I mean, I think the first part of the book is one of the weirder and not very good parts. The idea of Carrot, incredibly literal person grown up in amongst the dwarfs who are a very literal culture who considered don't do metaphors very often and such, and also coming to the city where everyone is a fucking sleazebag is a good bit, but it just the first part feels like old Discworld weirdness. Here's a bunch of wacky jokes and also a ton of weird sex jokes for some reason. And also I love the way Pratchett eventually does gender. With the dwarves, this wasn't it. This was not it.
It's funny because, in future books, this isn't spoiling anything. In future books, the whole concept of, Carrot is a guy who was raised with dwarves. He's not good with metaphors, but he is very, very upstanding and practically incorruptible. They get that idea across in later books without any of this backstory, and honestly, I feel like the bit with him back home in the mines could have been truncated entirely. It could have been cut out, and you just have him showing up in Ankh-Morpork. It's hi, I'm new here.
This is actually something I wanted to mention, because it makes this make sense. When Pratchett was originally writing this book, the main character was supposed to be Carrot. Vimes was just supposed to be a minor side character. Pratchett literally went, I'll just throw together all of the most random alcoholic detective cop who's overworked and miserable tropes I can to do it. Carrot will be the point of view character, and then that is not the book we got. So the first part being weirdly focused on Carrot in a way that doesn't quite work honestly makes a lot of sense because of that.
Which makes sense, given that there's this whole thing where, one of the reasons Carrot has to leave is that, there's a girl back home he was interested in, and, that was one of the reasons he had to leave, and, he keeps asking his mom, hey, make sure Minty's doing alright, but we never, hear anything else about Minty. We don't even see Minty.
It's very weird, especially given what Pratchett does with dwarves later.
Yeah.
But while Carrot, I think, would have made a very weak main character, he makes a fantastic foil to Vimes and to the other members of the Watch. He plays a spectacular second banana.
Yeah, and he's our fantastic fish out of water, so that the guards have someone to explain, no, you can't actually run after someone because then you might have to catch them. And then if you catch someone, well, that causes a bunch of other problems. You don't want that.
Did any of the rest of you find it fucked up that Ankh-Morpork doesn't have any hospitals? At all? That was reading that, I was what?
I mean, They kind of play the joke in a different direction when they're talking about how there's not a fire department because, the existence of a fire department basically turned into a protection racket immediately.
Which is how they started. That's what they were in, like, ancient Rome, yeah? The fire department was the guy with a bunch of slaves who would come around and, hey, your house is on fire. Like, pay up or I'll let it burn down.
I mean, so the idea was that if there were hospitals, then there'd be doctors going around spreading infectious diseases and breaking people's legs so that he can charge to fix them up.
Yeah.
So it is extremely fucked up, but if we're going within the framework of Ankh-Morpork being even worse London...
Yeah, I guess that does track, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Nice place to visit. Wouldn't want to live there.
Yeah.
It's a interesting bit. I really like the way Carrot ends up being characterized in this eventually, especially near the end when you're getting a ton of just banter between Carrot as the just the combination of Carrot as extremely morally uptight and also possibly a lot more than that, and Nobby Knobs as the exact opposite, going along with everything and a complete kind of asshole, but you can't hate him. And then
he's just a little guy.
And then Colin in the middle as just like, I can tell that something's up here and that this dynamic is weird, but I'm not smart enough to figure it out. Who cares? It's a really great bit because none of them would ever push above a certain level, but for completely different reasons between the three of them, and it lets them all run into the same situation for different reasons, and it's great.
Plus, I like that, by the start of the book, Carrot is very much concerned with, following the letter of the law. But, by the end, he's progressed enough where he kind of gets that there's the law, and then there's, the law. It's really down to, almost a Talmudic interpretation of enacting the law upon the populace, which is really fun.
This is a book about real politics. This is a book about it knows it's not about the laws as written. It is about the politics of power, who enforces them. There's the reason the level of crime is where it is in Ankh-Morpork isn't because isn't because anyone's debating about crime or sending out police to catch criminals or whatever. It's because if there's more crime than expected, Vetinari will send people knows where the head of the Thieves Guild lives.
There were actually a couple of different points where Carrot just directly learned that if you actually sit down and try to charge somebody for everything they're doing, they're gonna fucking run away in the time it takes you to read off the list. You have to pick your battles. And there's okay, this is definitely still early Discworld because this is still it's still a lot more cynical than some of the later stuff. It's Vetinari's speech about how, look, it is very valuable to have people in this world who think there's good and bad and that you can put people into one team or the other. No, it's everybody's either bad or bad, but sometimes they're on opposite sides.
God, that was so fucking bleak.
It's a really, really interestingly cynical speech, especially because one of my favorite moments from one of the last books Pratchett ever wrote, Unseen Academicals, there is a scene where Vetinari actually gets drunk and is completely normal and no one can tell that he's drunk, except he actually gives a speech about his understanding of evil and all of these things, and comparing these two ideologies is fascinating. You can really see the difference between this era of Pratchett and who Pratchett became.
Oh man, I can't wait to read that. That sounds so cool.
I can pull it up, honestly. I mean, we're not going to be there for 3 years. I might as well.
Yeah, send that to us after the show or whatever. That sounds amazing.
Well, I mean, I could just
now, if you can pull it up now, feel free.
So the actual quote, if I can find it, there is a scene where he's talking and he has a conversation about what evil is. Here it is. Okay, so getting back to the podcast. So this is the quote. The patrician took a sip of his beer. I have told this to few people, gentlemen, and I suspect I never will again. But one day, when I was a young boy on holiday in Uberwald, I was walking along the bank of a stream when I saw a mother otter with her cubs. A very endearing sight, I'm sure you will agree. And even as I watched, the mother otter dived into the water and came up with a plump salmon, which she subdued and dragged onto a half-submerged log. As she ate it, while of course it was still alive, the body split, and I remember to this day the sweet pinkness of its roes as they spilled out, much to the delight of the baby otters, who scrambled over themselves to feed on the delicacy. One of nature's wonders, gentlemen, mother and children dying on mother and children. And that's when I first learned about evil. It is built into the nature of the universe. Every world spins in pain. If there is any kind of supreme being, I told myself, it is up to all of us to become his moral superior. So, contrast that with Vetinari here, which interestingly, Vimes is like, then why do you keep doing what you do? And Vetinari's like, never mind, go along. You can see the inkling of it. But then you get to the end of Pratchett, and it's just like, he knows exactly what he's going for. Mm-hmm. And also, sorry to spoil where this eventually goes, but, it's probably my favorite part of that book.
It'll be 3 years until we get to it. Yeah. It's fine.
It will. It really will. It really is an interesting contrast between the Vetinari we see now and the Vetinari to come someday.
It felt kind of weird that, when I first was reading through in the first half of the book, Vetinari still felt a little bit off. He didn't quite feel like the guy that we expect, but then you get to the second half of the book where he just sort of cheerfully goes down into his cell, locks himself in, and is just weighted on hand and foot by rats that he helped the rats subdue all the other creepy crawlies in the dungeon, and that's the kind of character that we've kind of been waiting to show up this whole time. Yeah,
exactly.
A lot of this book is I think what really makes this the first quote-unquote Discworld book is because this is the first one that feels like a good jumping on point for the series.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I could easily recommend this to somebody as a place to start to see if you're interested in Discworld.
It has a lot of issues, but they're issues that's hey, here's a fantasy book that has some issues, not this book is the color of magic and it's not good.
Yeah, this is the one where it's okay, you want to start reading from the beginning, but you don't actually want to start reading from the beginning. You want to start reading from the beginning where it's actually good.
Yeah, if I'd read this instead of the color of magic back in the day, probably wouldn't be our Discworld virgin in this podcast.
I'm glad we have one, though.
Yes.
Yeah. One day I will have fucked the Discworld. I will have Yihad the Great Atuan, and I will no longer be a Discworld virgin.
I mean, 8 books has got to equal at least 2 dates at this point. I think if you're not there already, you're getting there.
Yeah, I've gotten to second base.
Please write in, viewers, with which book you can say that you fucked Discworld. I'm going to say Small Gods, but I think there's a lot of possible good answers.
Well, it's something we'll have to keep in mind. I will let you all know which book has popped my cherry, so to speak.
Yowza.
This metaphor stinks.
It sure does.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
It sure does.
I feel an awful lot when we sat down to this, weren't we intending to stay PG-13? I know that we threw that out in the middle of the first episode.
I don't know if I've ever been able to stay PG-13 in my life ever since.
Okay, I don't know. Maybe it was just me then.
I can swear 7 times just to make sure we get an R rating. Does that help?
We did go viral talking about Swords to Plowshares being force femming, so
that is true.
Hello. I don't think.
Hello, TikTok teens. I hope you're still listening. It's lit, baby.
Jesus.
Poggers.
And now no one is listening.
Well, we're free from the curse at least.
Hooray.
So speaking of PogChamps, what did y'all think of Commander Vimes? Or no, I guess he's Captain Vimes still at this point.
Yeah, he's Captain Vimes.
it's not too hard to see why he just sort of turned into the point of view character like immediately. He is especially at the start of the book, he's nothing but a pile of flaws.
Yeah,
he has next to no redeeming qualities in the first few pages you see him.
Like, look, when you're writing a mystery story, the natural point of view character is the hard-drinking noir detective who doesn't let dames get in the way.
I have to admit, like, there was a lot of that kind of weird anachronistic nonsense that, you know, it's sort of a highlight of Discworld anyways. You're always going to get it. But this time it was all stuff from, like, noir.
Yeah, it was...
And it was all, like, police dramas.
Yeah.
You know, like, the neon sign outside the old watch
that
house.
was great.
Vimes holding a dragon and giving the whole fucking Dirty Harry speech, like, I know what you're thinking. Did he fire 6 shots or only 5? You gotta ask yourself one question. Do I feel lucky, punk? Like, that was... that was dumb, but it was good. I enjoyed it.
Did you catch the fake Latin that was written on the watch seal?
I was just about to bring that up. Fabricati diem, punk, as in make my day.
It's such a good bit.
Yeah.
Especially because it means absolutely nothing in
Yes.
Latin.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's like, for God's sakes, it was spelling punk PVNC.
Yeah, it's so funny.
It was that all of this weird anachronistic nonsense was all in keeping with the actual themes and wasn't just like, here's a Laurel and Hardy bit for no reason.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it wasn't a parody of everything. It was a parody of crime novels, except it was in a fantasy setting, which is like, that's a nice stable mix of two things. It's not just like a gumbo of different parodies all thrown together.
Yeah, he's learned to, like, know what he's making fun of, what parts work, what parts don't.
Mm-hmm.
I will also say, I thought this book was really good in the sense of, like, a lot of the parody, it still feels a bit early Discworld, but it's not as overblown.
Yeah.
Like, the stuff that happens in this book, like was said, it's confined to Ankh-Morpork. A lot of the city burns down, but it sounds like that happens all the time.
Yeah.
The ending is a generally, like, happy ending for Vimes specifically. It feels like one of the first books that really cares more about the characters in it than about the world and the jokes at large.
Yeah.
Like, okay. The Discworld itself becomes more of a character as we get deeper in, but that's going to take another, like, 5 to 10 books before it starts really becoming obvious.
Yeah. And having just Vimes be a character that the book obviously cares about and wants you to care about helps so much for my, like, ability to enjoy the book. Just because it's like, oh, I like this guy. I want to see what happens to him. I want to see, like, how does his story end up? And then you get a good ending. It was cute.
Yeah.
I have thoughts on the ending, but yeah.
What did people actually think about, like, the relationship between Sam and Sybil?
Oh, boy.
So is it
I want to
Sybil
hear
or is it
Grace's
Sybil?
thoughts. I've always said it's Sybil.
I've said Sybil.
Yeah.
I say Sybil about my own character named that. I've only heard it as Sybil.
Okay. I don't know why I keep going Sybil. I don't... It's got to be from somewhere, but I don't know where. I think I'm just seeing the Y and guessing, because I've always...
Yeah, I think it's
I always check myself when mentioning Mrs. Throat, too, so...
Yeah, I think it's a short Y and not a long Y, if I'm being... If I'm going off of previous experience. But yeah, I thought they were adorable together. I thought that, like, unlike previous entries in Discworld canon, I thought that it was actually plausible that they would, like, get together, because they constantly cross paths and they showed, like, sort of vague stirrings of interest in each other. They were, like, kind of like coworkers, and then they kind of developed sort of a bond with each other before actually, like, oh, we should, like, do a dinner together. And I thought that Sybil was a well enough rounded character that she felt like an actual character of the book and not just the only girl.
Yeah.
Even though, like, when you think about it more, she kind of was the only girl in this book. It didn't feel as bad because she had a lot more going on than, like, a Tracy or a Konina.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there were 3 women in this book that, like, we kind of see, and they are Sybil, Rosie Palms, who only exists to, like, be a masturbation joke, and the dragon, who doesn't even get a name.
There's a lot of issues with her character, I think, especially in this early book. I mean, Pratchett is still weird about fat people sometimes.
Yeah.
And this book
he had this weird kind of... He was having trouble just actually saying things. She was very much described as an extremely large woman, but it was often in terms of, it's very clear that she is of barbarian stock, shall we say.
She's huge, she's got big bones,
she's sturdy.
Yeah.
Pratchett
you can anchor a boat
this is
to her.
really cool, but he can't quite bring himself to say, and that's cool as fuck.
Yeah.
So he just constantly kind of beats around it and makes some weird jokes.
I found it kind of interesting that, look, Pratchett does very little direct descriptions of his characters.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, extremely little. Like, if I ask you, what color is Sam's hair?
Yeah, we don't know.
You don't fucking know, because it never comes up. Every single time Sybil changes wigs, it's very explicitly mentioned. There's actually an explicit mention of what's different about this one. Because the fact that she wears them is significant, because she has all hair on her body has been burned off enough times that it just doesn't grow back anymore, because she raises fucking swamp dragons that explode at the drop of a hat.
They drip acid. They breathe fire.
More work went into her outfits and the wigs, just in descriptions, than everyone else in the book combined.
Yeah, because everyone else, this is a little biased writing advice, but you don't have to necessarily describe what your characters look like physically. Like you were saying, you don't have to tell us what the color of their hair is. You can if it's important, but I have a very clear mental image of everyone on the watch, even though it probably differs from everyone else's, but that's fine because we agree on the important parts. Mm-hmm. With Sybil, it's I like Sybil better than most of the other lady characters we've met before, and I wrote one of my notes here is Sybil hello. But
I was gonna ask, because you said you had to put the book down because you kept getting genders off of it. Was that off of her, or was it something else?
That was less Sybil and more the magic library stuff, and some of the hornier passages about how fucking big the dragon is.
Okay, that's perfectly fair.
Cool,
perfectly
cool,
fair.
excellent, cool.
I'm biased.
But also yes, there's some with Sybil. Again, she's fucking huge and that's hot. But Terry can't be normal about it.
It's so frustrating that I don't have a time machine to go back in time and visit Sir Terry and be like, I get what you're doing here, but you do realize that you are making a character who is pure dyke bait, and I don't think you're aware of it right now, but she's really hot and you can't process this for some reason.
He's making up this mountain of a woman who could suck the chrome off a fender, who wrestles dragons both for work and for fun, who rushes out of her cabinet rolling up her sleeves to stare down this murder machine who's the size of a 737, and you can tell he thinks that rules, but he can't it's he won't let himself.
Right. Yeah, he won't admit that it is in fact extremely cool. Plus she's super passionate about dragons, and being passionate about something is always extremely attractive.
That's one of the reasons I like Sybil so much, is she likes things. She has interests outside of whoever she's getting paired up with. Mm-hmm. She will talk your ear off about these fucking swamp dragons and the zillion diseases they can get.
I think literally wrote the book on that.
Yeah.
To be frank, I think part of it is I think part of it is if she is set up kind of as a foil / love interest for Vimes. Vimes is a real character who isn't just kind of young. I don't want to say that I don't like the main characters of most of the books we've read so far, but Vimes has a lot more to him, and also kind of sucks in a way that most of the rest don't, except Rincewind, and I don't want to see what sort of love interest we'd get for Rincewind,
Yeah.
mostly because if it isn't a dude, it's wrong. Rincewind
Yeah.
is obviously gay.
Correct.
But like,
Correct.
just having like, okay, this is an old shitty dude struggling with life who thinks that the correct option is to maybe arrest a dragon. What sort of love interest do we get here? And Sybil fits that in a great way.
Yeah.
I'm also biased because Sybil spoilers, Grace, Sybil stays a character and just gets better from here on out. Just gets more and more of a great character.
Yeah. And
the two of them just sort of socket together in a way that I don't really have great words for other than that. Just the two of them work as a team, and through the rest of the series they will just they both make the other better characters, and there's sort of an inevitability of them getting together at the end of the book. I mean, even to the point of, Sybil is very clearly just sort of making overtures at Sam, and he's going, well, this is really an awful idea, but it's because she deserves a lot better than me. But on the other hand, she seems to know better. Yeah. So, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's, if nothing else, even if they didn't wind up romantic partners, they still would have been friends and colleagues. And them having dinner together makes a lot of sense. It's good. It's as I was approaching the end of the book, it's well, is he gonna pair these two up? And the answer is yes, but in a way I can appreciate, understand, and respect. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's already rubbed salve on his ass. Might as well.
Okay, no, you were mentioning earlier that we know she has hobbies, she has passions, she has things she does when she's not being focused on by the camera, and that is so important for making a character that I give a quarter of a shit about. Hell, I was delighted earlier in the book where they point out that when Nobby's not on duty, he does folk dancing.
Yeah,
and this is treated like a weird sort of throwaway gag, but I thought that was actually really endearing.
So the characters even mention oh, that's weird, but all right, cool. It's hell yeah.
Yeah, it makes them feel so much more like real people, because real people have bits that don't necessarily fit neatly within the framework of a narrative. It's more fun to imagine characters doing things outside of the realm of where the story takes place, thinking about Sybil probably also goes to these weird ass dragon cat shows and shit, and has other friends who are other kind of
dragon ladies.
Yeah, dragon ladies, nobility who are rich enough to not give a shit.
The fact that it's more of them show up at the end of the book, and they're all that good, and it's just this is lovely. I wish we'd spent more time playing with swamp dragons in this series.
There's a whole other piece of fan fiction there that you could go into that doesn't exist. But
lesbian dragon breeders, by all means.
Yeah, for sure. But
if you write this fan fiction, please write into us to let us know.
Oh my
please
God,
let us know. We need this.
Wait till my dock is cleared. Give me a few months.
But the characterization in this book was fantastic. It was really cool. I liked that a lot. It's my favorite part of the book, probably. So what did y'all think about the actual mystery at the core of the book, though?
Well, because it's not really a mystery. We get told what happens right up front. But it still feels good to
admit, I forgot.
Not even that. None of the things that happen in the book really matter, so to speak. This still has the Pratchett problem where, at the end, the thing that solves the story is mostly just a weird joke. Okay, he shows up to, he figures out that, Wance did it and stuff, and that doesn't really have any effect. And, he goes to the coronation knowing that the dragon's still around, and that doesn't really have any effect. Most of the book, they're solving a mystery, but none of the things they solve really do anything.
Yeah, the mystery kind of solves itself, around the time they figure it out for themselves. Yeah. It does lead to the cool scene where, Vimes is, being all menacing at once, he's got that, I've got you dead to rights, motherfucker. I know you did it, and I'm just watching you dig your own grave. that's the shit I can get behind, but, like, that's about it.
I really wish it had just, like, been a little bit just like a little bit. I think actually what I'll say is I think that it's a testament to how good the book is otherwise that you don't really realize this for most of the book. Mm-hmm. You're just like, oh, okay, this is a good book about this is a good book with a mystery in it. You're not really paying attention to the fact that the things the characters are doing don't matter. It still feels tense and interesting.
I mean, what happens here is we end up with a whole bunch of plates spinning at the same time, and while almost all of those plates just eventually stop and then fall, somehow or another they all fall and land in this neat stack in the middle of the floor. And, like, yes. I can't really be mad. That was an incredible trick. How did you do that?
I will say that, like, some of the... Like, it wasn't a mystery because we knew about the whole dragon plot to begin with. It was a little bit of a mystery not knowing who the grand high super cool master guy was, but it was also kind of like one of those Scooby-Doo episodes where Mystery Inc. only meets like one other character who's like the caretaker, and he's like, you kids are all right, I'll help you get out, and then later they like unmask the spooky ghost, and it's like the caretaker. But like he was like, the only other character in the show, so of course it was him.
Yeah, because like almost everyone in the Brotherhood like fucking dies except for the one guy they arrest and then gets away off screen, and then we never hear from him again. And Mr. President of the Brotherhood, who has business at the coronation.
I admittedly completely forgot about that aspect of it until Vimes shows up and goes, "It was you." It's like, oh right, shit. Fuck, there was a mystery, wasn't there?
Yeah. And like, I've got Ace Attorney brain. You show me a guy like getting his ass nailed to the wall with words and reason, and I will not in my pants. So like that part was all right.
That scene was so great.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
it really worked well. I also love the joke of Vimes being like, "Run" at him, and it's this really threatening thing, and it's just like, oh god, is Vimes like gonna do something horrific? And then it's like, no, I want to see you run. I know it was you because I know you're run. And it's like, oh, okay, that's great.
But that's
great
even
stuff.
Better. Like that's still menacing, right? Like that's still like, I know you did it. I know I can prove it. And once is like, well, like, yeah, you can prove it, but like proving it doesn't do anything. This isn't a court of law. Like, the nature of power is such that you could prove I did it. It wouldn't change anything.
Yeah, that's kind of the weird thing about the ending of the book, where it's like, okay, we need to, like, we can't really hold either of these characters responsible in the eyes of the law, because the law doesn't exist to contain problems like this. These are problems that are too big to contain.
Yeah, the problems are systemic. The laws are a tool to be used. They are to be used by the powerful against the powerless.
Right. And I think that's kind of what makes, for me personally, like, I mean, it means that the book has to basically be tied up where, like, in one case, it's the dragons go off to fuck, and in the other case, it's Carrot takes one of Vimes's words too literally and accidentally kills once with a book.
That was a great
that
bit.
Was
that was
very
so
funny.
I have to appreciate that joke.
The tension... Yeah, the tension was just ratcheted way, way, way up, and then we just get this one stupid joke, and it just gets shaggy dogged.
I as much as I dislike the joke of I not dislike, but just kind of like, oh, okay, so you're really going to end with the dragons are heterosexual and go off to live magically forever. Which is how the book ends.
Yeah.
We've been so busy talking, we haven't really gone over it bit by bit because it's so dense. Mm-hmm. But, like, comparing that to the scene where Carrot throws the book at him, that was just a bit that was really, like... Yeah. The whole book has built up this tension, this intense, oh god, like, there's actual stakes here, I care about these characters, I care about what's happening, and then to just have it end on... haha, it's still Carrot is a great bit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I liked that.
Yeah, I came up with like a list of things that I was asked to prepare as the Discworld virgin. I'm gonna try and come up with like a different phrase to say there. But like one of the things I noticed about this book compared to the previous ones is like the jokes are better. Like he has to reach less to make the jokes, and the ones he does make are more clever. They're funnier. They're like, I groaned out loud when he was like, "Oh yeah, Carrot's been staying over at Rosie Palms's." But other than that, like they're better. These are actual jokes instead of like dropping into a weird comedy routine from 50 years ago where it doesn't fit.
Well, we said this one off camera, but the fact that he's willing to just make some of these jokes and run the other direction and not step back and marinate in them for a little while is incredible for him.
He's a lot more confident in his jokes. I respect him for that. Like, as you were saying, the patricians seldom had balls. Or
there's a popular song to that effect.
Yeah, he does like. There are a couple places where he does like have to explain the joke to us. Like I think it's Colin who keeps saying like, we're gonna get you. You'll be geography. And it's like someone says, oh, you mean history? Yeah, you'll be home economics. Yeah, it's a good bit, but he has to explain it to us.
Mm-hmm.
There's no public schooling. Who the hell? What the fuck is home economics on Discworld?
I really enjoyed a lot of the bits in this book like that, especially kind of a lot of the ending.
Yeah.
I was shocked how much I liked the ending. Like, I remembered what was coming. I remembered the whole dragons are actually fucking, which is a twist I think is kind of... The whole jet engine thing feels very old Pratchett in a way that I just...
Oh, for sure.
I don't know.
It's one of those like recontextualized things from our world, but in their world. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, we made a Stonehenge computer. We made a supersonic dragon. Look at this.
I mean, the idea that this is a very... Because they play up on how Errol is from this just ridiculously long line of dragons, and Sybil was actually very upset that he probably wasn't going to make any kids because, this is a ancient lineage, this is very valuable, etc., etc., and the fact that it just turns out that his digestion manages to figure out how to make something entirely new is...
Just to get laid.
I know, I kind of liked that, to be honest.
That's fair.
I liked it. I just feel like, on the whole, it was one of the weaker parts of the book. I will say, one of the thoughts I had while reading was literally, hey, this sure feels like the camel thing from the last book, but better.
Yeah. Yeah.
I liked the scene where actually, like... Errol didn't just figure out how to, like, shoot rockets out of his ass. Like, he's breaking the sound barrier. He's going so fast, it's like leaving a trail of destruction in his wake. And, like, when I got to that part, I was like, okay, that, regardless of, like, context, that is pretty cool, admittedly.
Yeah, it was.
Little guy, he's going really fast.
I mean, it took something really impressive to impress the dragons.
Yeah.
So, you know.
That and the scene, that reminded me a lot of the scene earlier where Vimes is, like, chalking out the outline of the dragon in the Plaza of Broken Moons. And then, like, he stares into, like, a hole of space that isn't there, and there's a bunch of, like, lightning effects, and it's like, ooh, this is some of that, like, end of the world special effects that you've used to do a lot of Sturm and Drag in previous books. But here you're kind of containing it, and it works a little bit better because it's like just like little pops of it. He's using his special effects budget a little bit more wisely in this book.
Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
We're again doing the thing where, like, magic is just electricity. So, yeah, of course there's this giant lightning storm when the dragon figures out how to just tap into ambient sources of magic to summon itself back over here.
What did y'all think of So, Grace, what did you think of the librarian and the library in general?
Well, as the three of you know, I get a lot of gender out of, like, magic libraries, especially, say, infinitely large ones with weird spatial properties. Hi, TikTok teens, you don't get that reference. Follow me on Mastodon. Anyways. Like, I thought it was good. I thought it didn't necessarily, like, fit all that. It probably wasn't all that important to, like, the overall narrative arc of the book, to be honest.
Yeah, it didn't give us any new information. It gave the librarian some new information and basically meant that the librarian would be where he needed to be, I guess.
Yeah.
because he would have no other reason to be at the palace.
Yeah, but I can overlook that because, like, I'm a sucker for ancient sects of librarians traversing through L space, taking advantage of the weird geospatial contortions to wind up a week ago to get some information you didn't have.
Oh yeah.
It's a good bit.
It's a genius move because you're reading a book and there's a bit that's totally extraneous to the plot, but it's basically just like, hey, books are cool, right?
Yeah.
Isn't it cool to read a book?
It's
like whenever you see a movie about making movies and they're like, isn't making movies cool and weird and kind of weird?
Yeah, it's all authors are writers. All, like, if you're writing a book, you by definition have a good opinion about books. You think they're neat.
Yeah.
Or at least,
reading rocks.
Yeah, and so, the idea that, like, of course, the presence of books bends space-time around them. Have you ever been inside a weird little bookshop?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, they're like that. I dig that.
I'm reading a Pratchett book. Of course I have.
Yeah. It's like I'm trying to cultivate that energy in my own home. It rules.
Hell yes.
And, like, once again, I think it's this great bit of, like, taking the big, weird magic thing of, there's, wild stuff with how this book sees like the existence of libraries, that there's weird monsters in the halls, that there's all this, and then it's just like, but we're just gonna do this to kind of solve a small mystery. That's it.
Yeah.
There's no horrifying threat at the end of this. Just a mystery.
That's sort of like the best uses of Unseen Universities when they're using far more equipment and far more power than they really have any need to solve a relatively mundane question.
Mm-hmm. Now,
I've been kind of hesitating if I should even bother bringing this up on this episode, but so I've mentioned before there are like 2 or 3 Discworld games.
Yeah.
And the first Discworld game was very, 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 very heavily based on Guards.
Mm-hmm.
It with a few obvious changes. The biggest and most unfortunate being that it's a Rincewind game.
Oh no!
Rather than being about the watch. Well, what this ends up meaning is that you end up solving problems in different ways, and one of the most notable divergences is the fact that after you figure out who the cult is and you figure out a bunch of stuff, you do have to go back and do the L space thing yourself.
Oh, weird.
And so you obviously break some other rules because you're doing things that are explicitly things that the librarian should not do.
Yeah.
But what Rincewind ends up doing is he goes back in time, you have to first steal Nanny Ogg's recipe book, go back, take the Summoning of Dragons book, swap the covers of the two of them, and then put the recipe book in the spot so that instead of stealing the book on how to summon dragons, they steal a book on how to make custard of love.
Oh my
So
God.
when they try to summon a dragon, they summon several thousand tons of custard.
That sure sounds like what an adventure game would do.
Yeah.
Well, I have to give them credit for what they do after this, because so Rincewind is like, all right, great, I've prevented the dragon from ever being summoned. I'm a great hero. He storms into the palace and demands a reward. And everyone goes, the fuck are you talking about? What dragon?
Yeah, there was never a problem. You Final Fantasy yourself out of a reward.
So Rincewind just gets so adamant about this, and he, pulls out the book. Like, look, there are fucking dragons, and he gets so insistent on this, he accidentally resummons the dragon.
God damn it.
It's a good bit.
And so,
that's
so
pretty
this
good.
becomes, okay, fine, you summon the dragon, you get rid of it. So we move into the third act, and there's this whole puzzle where, you remember the whole, you have to reach exactly 1,000,000 to 1 odds in order to kill the
that was a
dragon.
good bit.
So you have to go around the city asking everyone, okay, what do I need to kill a dragon? And you get their suggestions, like you need a magic sword that goes ting, you need a birthmark, you need a magical spell. Then you have to take these over. You have to go to Nobby and say, okay, if I have a posing pouch on and I'm carrying a sword that goes ting, what are the odds of me successfully killing the dragon? And each of these things has different odds attached to it. And
Oh
even
my
though that's not how
God.
odds work, you have to give them exactly the right combination so that it comes out to precisely 1,000,000 to 1, and then gather those items. This, of course, fucking fails, because of course it
just like it
does.
does in the
Then
book.
you go to the Dragon Sanctuary, you pick up a dragon, you feed it dynamite, you feed it kerosene, you assault the dragon with that. That fails to work. You get some of the love custard from 2 acts ago. You throw that at the dragon. It falls in love with the dragon you're carrying, and we're back to the way things are supposed to go.
End.
Wow.
Happy end. It is a weird goddamn game. It does a lot of things that I could probably fill an entire episode about, but by going through all of this bit right here, I have freed myself from having to do an extra eepisode about it.
Okay, yeah, I am glad you did that bit, and also I am glad that I am not going to have to think about that game again, because that is... Oh god, that didn't really make me think Discworld as much as it made me think old adventure game.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
I am not actually a fan of old adventure games.
There's this bizarrely weird self-aware bit in the second game where, okay, side note, Rincewind is voiced by Eric Idle.
Oh,
so
weird. Okay,
I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's weird because he's very much playing Eric Idle more than he's playing Rincewind. So Rincewind's a much more likable character by default. But there's this bit in the second game where they start verbatim quoting a Monty Python skit about how you can't just parrot something and call it parody. That's not parody. Yeah. You're not doing anything with it. You're just repeating it. This isn't... What are you doing? You're not even telling a joke anymore. And this goes on for 2 or 3 minutes with this big flashing message at the bottom of apologies to Python Common Monty Enterprises. And they just kind of leave it at that.
Okay. That is so weird.
Again,
they would put anything on a CD-ROM.
It's a weird British adventure game series. I should go find out if Discworld Noir was actually any good, because I remember people hating it because it had nothing to do with any of the books. But I think right now what I want is one that had nothing to do with any of the books.
Yeah, like one that expands on the world, but not necessarily taking place with the characters.
Well, it involves you playing a zombie detective, so by all means.
That sounds fucking cool as hell.
Yeah, it sounds cool as shit to me now. It sounded dumb to me 20 years ago.
I mean, on the other hand, we've had bad luck with people going like, I can write a story, I can do a Discworld thing that has nothing to do with the books.
That is true.
We'll see.
Someday we'll have an excuse to discuss the Watch TV show, and I will.
Oh God, no, we won't. No, we won't.
Oh boy.
Thankfully, we don't even get to complain about that for another Watch book or two.
Though, the L-Space sequence also explained because the librarian follows the person who took the book. And so, it's part of the librarian's arc of, really, they just want the book back. Yeah, they help out the Watch in other ways along the way. Like, the librarian helps out Vimes, and he takes some pleasure in being a special ape constable or whatever, which is a pretty good bit. And so it is part of the librarian's larger arc of, he's a librarian, he wants the book back. That's his main thing.
I appreciate the librarian's kind of whole shtick in this book of just like, I'm here because someone stole a book, and I care a lot about that. I don't care too much about other things. It's cool to be, like, the special constable, but mostly here for that. I'm going to work with it if I can. And just, it's a really good characterization for the librarian as mostly chill, unless you're a bad person or call him not an ape. And like that's a good characterization for him, and I love the way the library is portrayed in this.
Yeah,
it's good so shit. Good.
Yeah, fuck. I could live in there. So cool.
Right.
So before we like ease into like thinking about ranking, I also wanted to ask, what did y'all think of the Supreme Brotherhood of Ebon Knight? Because I had some thoughts about that. What did y'all think about them? Those parts.
It was definitely just like straight distilled Ankh-Morpork. I mean, it is exactly the way that he's going to be writing Ankh-Morpork Citizens for a long time, and it works better than it certainly works better than trying to describe anything going on in any foreign nation that he's tried to tackle before. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I don't know. It sort of feels like the midline for Pratchett writing.
Yeah.
Like, I liked the theming. I liked anything that was written from inside of Wance's head, because I mean his whole arc of how he's trying to just channel the pettiness of all of the other members and use that as a weapon. That's pretty great.
Yeah. Maybe it's because of the times we live in and shit.
Yeah,
but it really echoed with like grassroots right-wing movements where it's just like
Yeah.
it isn't about like groups like the Proud Boys or whoever don't always get started by saying like, okay, so we want to start a white ethno-state and here's our dogma and here's our doctrine and shit. Sometimes it just happens where you find like a bunch of like kind of like pissed off people who know that they don't like something, but they don't really have any aims for where to aim that at. And you just have to get them together and kind of point them vaguely at the same direction and get them real riled up. And that's essentially what Once did. And really what they summon essentially is kind of an avatar of nationalism, of I don't know if I would say specifically fascism, but like this concept of like an undying and all-powerful monarch, a force that will maybe protect you in exchange for your money and your life occasionally and your constant fear.
Yeah, they awaken something they can't control, and in fact kills most of them. He started by saying, hey, are you mad about abortion or gay people existing, or are you a racist? Cool, let's channel that all in the same direction, and oh shit, like we've got something that won't necessarily do what we want. Well, maybe we got what we wanted, but like, I'm fucking dead, or at the very least, like, I got more than I bargained for.
You've created a setting
monster
that is ruled by a monster. You've created you've conquered the city, but only by subjecting it to a fear that you also share.
Yeah, I wanted you to hurt that damn vegetable seller, or my brother-in-law with a nice carriage, but now you're hurting me and the people I care about. And that's not what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
I did like the bit of Wants just being like, and soon we'll be able to usher in a new era of free thinking and philosophy and only the best things, and in this new era I will torture all of you for making me put up with this bullshit. And it's a very petty joke at his expense, but he deserves it because he sucks, and I like that.
Also, I liked that their puppet king, we never learn what he looks like or what he sounds like or
we get a name
anything
once.
about him. We don't even get his name once. We learn that he's like somebody's brother or something.
No, we do get his name, I think.
Okay.
Or at least like...
Yeah, it's as part of an argument because it was posted everywhere.
Right.
But yeah, he's absolutely nobody.
Yeah. And then he basically dies off camera, which is really funny. He never mattered in the first place.
Yeah.
This is actually something that I wanted to bring up. This book is a book about kings, but in a more critical and interesting way than we've seen so far.
It's a book about power and people in charge, regardless of whether or not anyone calls them a king.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Compare this to the previous book we just read.
Yeah.
Pyramids.
Yeah, remember how Pyramids was all, hey, look at these people with their foolish traditions, and this one is more...
We're talking about the British monarchy now. Fuck the monarchy.
Yeah, it's I do love the way that this book's politics are...
And also, like...
Not bad at points, but it's very... The parts where it's like, hey, look at this fucking monarchist. Look at this monarchist. Look at how the things they say are bad and wrong.
I love how you wouldn't expect it from Colin, but Colin is actually very much like, fuck kings, obviously.
Yeah.
It's really interesting, especially given that, like, Vimes' entire characterization in future books is just, I hate kings in every way. Like, his entire thing in a lot of future books is just... my dad, like my great-grandfather or whatever, cut off the head of the king who was evil, and that's all my family's remembered for. But, like, god damn it, I'd do it again if we had another fucking king.
Kingslayer
and, like,
Vimes.
You don't get that
Fuck
here.
Yeah.
He's just a guy here.
Yeah, like he's a guy who's...
It's really weird.
He's a guy who's not really pro-monarchy. Like, Vimes is, like, kind of disgusted when, like, he's around this monarchist.
Mm-hmm.
caricature.
Yeah, and it's interesting too when compared to Wyrd Sisters, because Wyrd Sisters is like, well, the land wants for a king. It really needs a king. It needs somebody to rule, but somebody who's fit to rule, and somebody who is of the correct lineage and whatnot.
Yeah, with the right king. Yeah, that was fucking weird.
And also, like, I think it's also important to remember in that context that, like, Lancre is fantasy Scotland, Ankh-Morpork is fantasy London. So it's like, well, you know, your regional kings, well, that's kind of cute and that's fun. And, you know, it's good to have a little bit of regional pride. But when you start acting like it's a real country, fuck kings.
Yeah, fuck the English monarchy in particular.
Yeah.
Which, you know, maybe that's him staying in his lane. I don't know, but it's he didn't extend this to Egypt.
Ankh-Morpork didn't really have a history of colonialism or anything.
No, they've always been
they
a
just
city-state.
kind of let people come to.
Yeah, and in fact, one of the things that happens in this book is, like, Ankh-Morpork has a lot of really good trading partners, but, like, the new Dragon King is going to start doing a lot more colonialism and a lot more subjugation, and a few of the unnamed Ankh-Morporkians say some pretty racist shit about Kalachians.
All right, yeah, we're just gonna say this one bit and then just move on as best as we can. But the fact that Klatch is used for every single foreign stereotype simultaneously, is impressive and horrifying.
Yeah, it's weird how they're India, but it's also where pizza comes from, but they're also China.
And they're also, like, indigenous Americans at one point, because they drop into this really awful, you know, sort of pidgin English at one point.
Yeah.
I get the joke you're trying to make, Pratchett. I don't like the joke you're trying to make, but I get it.
At least in this one, the people saying it are clearly supposed to be, like, in wrong races. They're supposed to be wrong-headed assholes who are saying this for their own interests. Because this whole king thing has got them all whipped up into a racist frenzy.
There's a lot of, like, I liked how this book went into that, especially because it's something that Pratchett keeps getting into. I don't know, at the end of this series, I want to go over how many books in the Watch series involve a king as a central plot point, because I'm pretty sure it's like literally all of them, actually, now that I think. It could literally be all of them, actually. Spoilers, but yeah. I'll figure that out on my own hand.
You could say that the series of Discworld is mostly concerned with the concept of who gets to rule. And there are some witty distractions along the way.
Yeah. Like, this is... Look, when you are writing a satire of fantasy fiction, all of these fantasy worlds have kings. There is always a king. There is always a king and usually a princess, and you have to slay the dragon or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so if you're deconstructing that, yes, you have to engage with, like, hey, isn't having a king kind of shitty and fucked up?
Yeah, it's interesting. And while we're on the subject of complex politics in Discworld, one thing I wanted to bring up is, so the Watch are technically kind of a bunch of books about cops.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And you sure can see that Pratchett is writing a book about cops. And I mean, I despise the police.
Yeah,
and
ACAB,
think they
baby.
should all die. But, like, it's...
assigned cop at birth.
It's interesting to see how this book portrays them.
Yeah.
I mean...
Did y'all have any thoughts on that?
This is a fantasy series, so the idea of a good cop changing something is allowed to happen.
I'll say that speaking as a longtime Ghost in the Shell fan, to the point of having a Brainjack tattoo on the back of my neck, I have to do less mental gymnastics to justify liking books about the Watch than I do about justifying liking Gits, if I'm being perfectly real.
I wouldn't say it in the terms of, like, liking it. Like, The Watch are my favorite book series ever. I find it more interesting how they kind of... You can see kind of a lot of real contradictions with the way policing works that Pratchett bounces back and forth between, with just, like, this is, like, a funny... They're funny cops who make dumb choices, and here's some jokes about police brutality that are... Wow, that's kind of fucked up, but also they don't do that because they're not them. It helps that the cops in this don't exist. Like, there is no police force. It's 3 dudes, and they're completely beaten down.
The Watch exists as, like, specifically to be, like, the shriveled up, useless, like, thing that used to be the police, but now is rendered basically obsolete. Their job is to walk around the city, ring a bell, and say, 12 o'clock and all is well, but not too loud because, you wouldn't want someone to hear you.
Mm-hmm. I think that there's a valuable contrast that the book makes in, like, Act 3, after the dragon takes over, with when the Watch has to come up and confront the palace guards, because the palace guards are absolutely cops. They are hired thugs who are in very fancy outfits and who exist solely to protect the interests of those in power at the expense of literally everyone else. There are rules that probably define their job, but the rules don't matter so much as the one rule, which is protect the guy at the top, or the dragon at the top, as the case may be, and fuck everybody else. Whereas the Watch in this book, and even more so in future books, they're less concerned with that and more concerned with getting their man, with sussing out what exactly happened. They're not so much police as they are detectives, as they are, and they're a lot more of they seek to protect the common people of Ankh-Morpork, as much, if not more so, than its leaders. And I think that's
part of the way that he can do that is because, like, part of the issue with policing is the power structures involved and how it serves the state. Mm-hmm. The Watch don't really serve anyone because that got destroyed a very long time ago. Whatever they used to be, which, given some of the jokes about, like, the genuinely pretty funny joke Carrot makes when he's reading off the rights of, you have the right to not jump out of like a top story window, and the that's what we do to prisoners to kill them joke, like that sort of a thing. Given that, like, implied, yes, cops used to be like this, but they aren't anymore, which interestingly is kind of because Discworld took the function of policing, which is just protect the interests of capital, and gave it to capital. It's essentially kind of a libertarian hell state in certain ways. Except being controlled by a dictator who can force it to run the way that he wants. And it's interesting how that, like, the kind of, you could say one of early Discworld's conclusion is capitalism is just how people will be because they're bastards, and thus libertarianism will work because people are going to be that awful. And watching Discworld slowly evolve from that into what it becomes, because I think that one of the future books, Night Watch, is actually a great argument against the existence of police, period, is, like, it's really interesting to me. And you can see it in this book. You can see how, like, to write a good cop, Pratchett has to destroy the idea of even what a cop is.
I mean, I do want to kind of point out here that, they're not... The Watch is so completely defanged, they have no way to enforce what they're trying to do. They get told, you and what army several times because, it's just 3 or 4 guys.
It's parrots.
And, like, they've got a couple of rusty swords. They have a bow that they can't even string. Okay, I'm going to kind of cut this one short because this particular issue is the subject of like Feet of Clay, so we'll worry about that when we get there. But these are the rest of the Watch books are going to be slowly building them into something that actually serves the community, even if the Watch themselves are always going to be at least a little bit scummy because they're still made up out of, not the best society has to offer, but...
And also still made up out of a British dude's conception of what making jokes about police and mystery novels. They're still going to make jokes about police brutality. They're still going to make jokes about all of this stuff because, like, Pratchett's writing them to tell detective stories, and he loves making those jokes.
The Watch are your Columbos. They are your... like, they are your meagerly paid civil servants. Like, much is made about how... like Sam Vimes makes like what $30 a month, or which like it's weird that they say like, oh yeah, that'll be $3.50 or whatever. Yeah, it's weird that he uses dollars in fantasy London but still calls it pence. Anyways, that wasn't my point. Yeah, these are your low-paid civil servants. That like, yeah, as Iris was saying, it's their job to. Well, it's not really their job to do anything. It's their job to walk around and ring a bell because they are the shriveled up organ of what was once an actual police force. In contrast to the palace guards who are paid a king's ransom, well, so to speak, to do what the one guy in charge tells them to do. And right down to like the very good scene where Secretary Man is Squiggle is he has he's cause he does the title drop guards and like these four like giant well-paid like assholes in the plumes and everything like charge in and they're like and he's like, arrest this man. Like, well, he's like one guy and he's smiling. You know what happens then? He's gonna swing off the chandelier, grab that sword out the fireplace, and like do hero shit at us.
God, there's a fucking. I'm gonna show my like, like you could chop me in half and find my exact like age in terms of my webcomic experience. But there's a fucking bit in the old series that Christopher Hastings used to do, Dr. McNinja, that is about this exact kind of fucking thing. Where it's
I'm sorry, hold on. I'm gonna let you finish, but did you just do all of that build up to bring up Dr. McNinja?
It's the law of conservation of ninjutsu, yeah.
That's like
I was afraid you were gonna say like Dominant Deegan or Sluggy Freelance.
I mean, not that I didn't also read Dominant Deegan.
Jesus. The teens are going to hear these terms and look
the
them
kids
up and
these
deal
days.
immense psychic damage.
It's hard to say. This
don't
reminds me
deserve
of a.
this.
It's hard to come off of like political discussion saying this reminds me of a thing from Dr. McNinja with a straight face. Okay, so just give it to me. But anyways, it's that if you're facing down against one ninja, the ninja's definitely going to kill you. But if you're facing down against 100 ninjas, you will win, hands down. It's that easy.
It's the law of conservation of ninjutsu.
Exactly. There's a bit where Dr. McNinja actually ends up teaming up with a guy who he's trying to defeat against a bunch of other ninjas because he knows that with teamwork, that makes them slightly less likely to succeed. I think, if that's the plot. Or maybe it's, yeah. Because it makes it more likely to get captured.
I'm happy that I've mostly forgotten those things.
Anyways, this is like brain. This is brain tape from old times. I'm really sorry to bring it up, but yeah.
Speaking of,
you're not.
I mean,
no.
What reminds me? Has anyone noticed that Carrot talks and writes like an Aquid character?
Yes, yes, I have. God bless his heart.
I will say,
he
actually,
sure loves his commas.
On that note, a bit that I really loved in this book was Vimes writing all of his notes. This isn't something he does in future books, but the joke here of Vimes just talking like a normal dude and then writing down notes in ye old English as much as possible. That was funny. That was really funny to me.
Which apparently everyone does in the Discworld, because like every time we get a sign or like any sort of written material, it's always written in weird old English.
Oh yeah. I mean, if they don't have like hospitals and shit, you really think they're going to have grammarians?
I mean, the grammarian does sound like, some guy, like, puttering around the unseen university who will, like, I don't know, cut your colon in half or whatever.
Touche.
But yeah, I find that a really interesting thing to look into, especially because, like, I feel like a lot of Pratchett's more unconscious biases come across in these books because, they're really jokey books about London, where a lot of the assumptions about London just come through.
Yeah.
Also, we saw Cut Me Own Throat. Is it
Dibbler?
Dibbler. Yeah, Cut Me Own Throat Dibbler for the first time.
Yeah. Hey!
What a great character!
I love this sleazy little asshole. He's so good. I have a soft spot for all kinds of sleazy little assholes.
He's gonna become a fixture, so get ready for more of him.
Hell yeah.
He's so great, and I love him in this book, and I love the joke at the end where he's just constantly like, yeah, I get this given to me by, like, an ancient sect of monks that live only on a secret mountain somewhere, and then at the very end there's a little aside about monks going, why do we keep sending all this to him? What does he even do with it? It's just really dumb and really
I find
funny.
it really bizarre that even though he doesn't mention them by name, that's the listening monks.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God, you're right.
They mentioned Lobsang by
that's
name.
Lobsang. Oh.
How fucked is that?
Oh, that's Lobsang.
God, remember
Grace,
those
you'll
days?
understand this joke in 2 years.
This is gonna be. By the way, I know it's not everybody's favorite Discworld book, but I personally fucking loved Thief of Time, and I'm really excited to get to it.
You are not prepared for my rants about genders and Thief of Time.
Fuck yeah! But that's like 2 years from now, so get ready for that. I guess.
I can't wait for these books to have even more genders. I'm going to fucking explode.
Thief of Time is a complicated book with a lot of good parts and a lot of bad parts, and a minor character in it who is, like, fundamental to my personal sense of gender and transness and what I feel.
Oh, yeah.
There's, like, 3 pieces of fan art of her online ever, and I treasure all of them because I love her.
I'm going to be honest, even in my half-remembered memories, I'm just thinking about oh, yeah, that's a June.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I love her so much. Okay, I'm gonna stop.
Yes.
But it's really there's a lot of, I really liked a lot of the minor stuff in this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even if the core of it wasn't quite absolutely rock solid, all of the decoration on it was spectacular. It was like a parade float built on top of a 1996 Ford Taurus in that regard.
Or a city built on loam.
True.
Which,
God, they repeat that joke a lot of times through the entire rest of the series. It's not even really a joke, but it has the cadence of one.
Yeah, so like there's this is the book. One of the parts of the book that's a time capsule is this part of the mythology of, like, the dragons, like, sleeping on piles of gold, which, that's maintained, but, like, that you chain a virgin to a rock and offer that to a dragon, that's, like, not really part of it is, like, I'm a fucking furry, and, like, I have a lot of, like, gayer, more interesting thoughts about dragons, but the whole, like, virgin tied to a rock thing is, like, not on my radar.
It's an okay enough kink scene, but it's really hard to do with a straight face more than once.
Yeah, like
Balina's really embracing the new understanding that we're not PG-13.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you can negotiate this scene with the lady, but it's not really in her wheelhouse. It's whatever you like. It's not sure. But we know you're not a virgin, right?
Yeah, it's that element was kind of weird.
I liked Sybil. I liked Sybil's characterization in this scene. I feel like she carries it. I feel like the joke here of let's go find a virgin to feed to the dragon. Here is this lady who's the love interest. It could have been really bad, but because it's just like, oh hey, Sybil's the best character who you love and is going to respond to this in the way you expect, i.e. rushing them with an axe.
Yeah.
It's great. And then when she gets there and she's like, oh, but it's such a cool dragon. I love it so much. Like, that's great. That fits.
Yeah,
it works.
rules.
It makes a really gross scene just be like, this is kind of great.
Yeah, and it says a lot about Sybil that, like, the instant she is no longer chained to the rock, it's like, oh, don't kill it. Like, it's so cool. Look at it.
Think back to the scene with Bethan from The Light Fantastic, and then think about how much better this scene was.
Yeah.
Oh, God, yeah.
I do want to say just one off little aside here. When the guards show up at her place and she mistakenly thinks that they're Vimes, the fact that the audience just gets the tiny little cue that the guards have plumes in their helmets, and we as readers go, that's the palace guards, that's not Vimes, but she doesn't know that.
Yeah, Vimes has never claimed a $2 plume allowance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the fact that she gets herself all she tries to get herself prettied up, but she still looks like a mess, and she terrifies people at the door because
she puts her wig on and unbuttons a few buttons on her nightgown.
And puts on some just like long fermented perfume.
You do the best with what you got at the time, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was admirable. I'm not laughing at her for doing it. I'm laughing at the fact that she was too exhausted to really do it right.
Yeah.
And the fact that it nearly scared the guard out of his wits, and the fact that she just says, "Oh yeah, I just need one, but let me go get a coat." And then the moment they get tired of waiting and open the door, she just charges out with a broadsword, screaming.
Yeah, rules.
It's great. I think I may have been one thing I was really curious as to what I think I might be too much of a dyke to really fully analyze Sybil's character, because I really can't tell how much of the things Pratchett is doing is supposed to be like, you don't like this character, let's make fun of her. Because everything he does, he's just like, oh yeah, she's a disaster who's just constantly working on weird dragon things, and it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, ideal lady.
Yeah,
oh my god, I'm gay. It's hard for me to tell. It's hard for me to tell. Wait, did Pratchett realize that he's just writing exactly the sort of girl I want?
Imagine being so incredibly well off that you can spend all your time chasing your passions, and there'll be more money than you'll ever be able to spend in your life anyway.
Yeah, because because she's supposed to be kind of a cat lady, but for dragons. Mm-hmm. But again, it's like, yeah, I'm fucking gay. She's huge. That rules. She's got all the time and money she could ever want to, I'm getting myself wistful. I'm starting to tear up now.
Yeah.
Fuck.
That's goals right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Again, I am, her and Vimes are they're one of the very few het pairings I will root for, and I will go to the mat for.
Agreed.
They absolutely
I admittedly
work.
don't remember much about her from the rest of the series, and I like most of my, I last read this stuff 20 years ago, so I'm forgetting big chunks of it, and, I still thought I was a guy back then. I sure as hell wasn't as gay as I am now, so I kind of want to see what she really gets out of this relationship, so to speak.
Oh, man. That's going to be interesting, because I was a dude when I first read this, too. And at the time, I was like, oh, yeah. Well-written female character. Whatever. Cool. But now, because the switches flipped in my brain, and I like women in a different way now, it's oh, shit. I'm going to be in trouble for later books, aren't I? Fuck.
I think less than you think.
Okay.
I will say, part of the reason I love Sybil is that Sybil stays a good character for a large number of books. She does get sidelined in ways, but at the same time, it's not as big of a deal, because literally next book we get Angua, so
True.
Oh god.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, yeah. And then Susan Stohelic comes in 2 books
yeah.
after, and then it's that's the lesbian trifecta right there.
And it's which
there's so many great characters.
And much like how this book has to create a good cop, it also has to create, and there's some other stuff talking about with how Carrot is your kind of your stereotypical good cop, and that he's this invincible giant brick of a man who will charge in and arrest the bad guys and quote all the laws at him and is totally incorruptible and will arrest a dragon if he has to. And Sybil is she's your good aristocrat. She is genuinely interested in doing the noblesse oblige thing. I probably mispronounced that. I've only ever seen it written. She, is genuinely helpful, and yet, admittedly, all her attention is focused on, dragons instead of her shitty little swamp dragons instead of humans. But even then, she changes her tune about that at the end of the book.
Yes.
I will say, I think this is kind of, not to dig way too deep into this stuff, but I think this is kind of the deepest problem Pratchett had with the way he wrote stories, especially as he got into later books kind of about more very political, here's some interesting ideology in these books stuff, is that he writes books primarily about characters at their core. Primarily, he's writing a book about, here's a bunch of interesting characters who you care about, and therefore, a lot of the times, the solutions to problems just become, what if there was a good one?
Yeah.
What if there was one good dictator? What if there was one good cop? What if there was one good guy? Because society as a whole is bad. And he gets further and further away from this as time goes on, but I think it's kind of the problem that I would say Discworld struggles with the most.
Yeah, it's really rooted in some of these characters' DNA too much to really move too far from.
Yeah.
But again, that's why it's a fantasy novel, I guess. Because...
Yeah, it's, you know...
Look, if you're gonna make up a guy and then get mad at him, at least make it a good guy.
Yeah, it's...
Yeah, I mean, it works because these are all great characters.
Yeah.
I love them all.
Yeah. Yeah, like, Sybil rules. It's, you know, Sergeant Colin talking about how, like, yeah, like, we're all born basically human. Like, we, you know, he takes offense to the idea that a king is somehow born better than everyone else. He's kind of okay with the fact that rich people exist, but, like, you know, if you had a character openly calling to eat the rich, it'd be a very different book. I mean, other than the fact that the dragon wants to eat the rich, but, like, in a different way.
It wants to eat the rich and then become the rich.
Yeah. The dragon wants to eat the rich because... I mean, mostly, like, as an example or whatever. Like, it's made very...
Yeah, they make it outright. The dragon doesn't have to eat. The dragon is a thaumaphore.
Yeah.
The dragon is eating people entirely to scare the shit out of them. And there was... we actually never touched on the fact that it has this conversation with Wance where it just becomes absolutely horrified as it realizes what human history is really like.
Yeah.
It's like that scene from The Fifth Element where Lilo's reading through Wikipedia,
she looks up
gets the
war.
article on war.
Yeah, it's like, oh, damn, war exists. Fuck. Damn. Does anyone know about
the dragon
this?
Yeah, the dragon just cannot believe the kind of bullshit that we do to one another and just call it good.
Yeah. Like, this is very much a humans are the real monsters book in a lot of ways, both on the macro and on the micro level, both of the as a species, humans are capable of creating atrocities, and also in the, like, humans are cowardly, selfish little things who, there's this great cheer of the people united will never be ignited that dries up as soon as the dragon, like, turns her attention on one guy.
I like this book. I like what it tries to do, and I like analyzing how it fails because I find it interesting to compare to future books.
I wouldn't say I 100% agree with it, but it's right in some it's right in some broad strokes about the banality of evil and all that is necessary for evil to triumph is for the good folks to do nothing, which is not 100% true, but he's getting there. I'm a little grumpy about arguments about human nature and humans are fundamentally this or that. That sticks in my craw. That's shitty, but, like...
Yeah, you can't say humans are always all 100% this way one time or another, because that's such broad strokes.
Yeah, but a lot of this is in the mouth of Vetinari, who is, you know, not Pratchett. He's, like, you're not necessarily supposed to agree with him. He's kind of a piece of shit.
It's interesting. I really think that the ending scene of this book between Vetinari and Vimes kind of reveals a lot of, like, what Discworld is going to be for the future, which is kind of like the scene of both Vetinari giving his grand, like, here's the cruelties of the world and stuff, and Vimes just being like, I mean, you're still trying to make it better, though. How come?
Yeah,
and Vetinari just refusing to, like, go, like, piss off. And then also, later after that... Oh, go ahead.
I do just want to at least give credit there that Vetinari is someone who goes, look, I know the world is this way, you don't, and the fact that you don't agree with me is incredibly important for how I run this thing.
It's made very clear that, like, Vetinari needs Vimes' brain the way it is.
It really gets to their dynamic in a really good way that, like, I mean, at the beginning of this book, Vimes is an alcoholic in the gutter and Vetinari doesn't care about him. Like, that dynamic at the end is what Discworld, especially the Watch series, is going forward. That, like, dynamic really works. And then immediately after that, you have the scene of, which is a great joke, of Vetinari being like, of course we'll have to honor you with a huge ceremony and whatever you wish. And the Watch wants a very slight pay raise and a new dartboard.
And a kettle.
Which is it's a great joke, and also it's this great moment of, like, Vetinari has this horrifying thing of humans are at their core evil, and it's kind of just this thing of, like, now they're just kind of, like, dudes.
Yeah.
They just want a dartboard.
Yeah.
It's not that complicated, dude.
Yeah, like
it works really well.
A dragon ate their kettle. They'd like a new one. It costs $2.
Yeah.
Sometimes people are just some dudes, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not everyone is you, my guy. Not everyone is, like, playing fifth dimensional brain chess, trying to make sure all the evils of the city perfectly balance out. Sometimes, like, you know, sometimes I want to bring an extra $10 home a month to my wife, who I haven't seen in 30 years, and we have a great relationship.
That is the fact that Colin is a wife guy, but specifically a guy who hasn't seen his wife in 30 years, despite the fact that he's raised 3 children.
Yeah. And you know what? He loves his wife. He loves his wife in, like, a good, normal way. This works for them.
He gets... I would say it's interesting because he gets almost worse as the books goes on, because, like, Vimes takes up a lot of the normal dude characterization that he gets, but, like, at the same time, I love all of these characters so much. I'm just so
It
glad
was
we
weird to
finally
see,
got him.
like in this book, like Nobby was like, oh yeah, he's you know, he's kind of a slimy dude, but you know, he's not as unslimy as the rest of the Watch. He's pretty okay. Whereas in later books, it's like this guy climbed out of the fucking elephant's foot at Chernobyl. He is the weirdest looking dude you've ever seen, and he has a smell that follows him around the block. He's so fucked up. Whereas this book's like, he's just a guy. He's some guy. He's a little sleazy, but who ain't in this city? Hey.
Yeah.
Nobby gets along famously with Sybil, and like he's clearly not actually trying to get anything out of her, because he's given several opportunities to steal. Yeah, he's given several opportunities to like outright steal from her. He's like, oh, no, why would I do that? And that's just, again, it's charming. He's clearly is more than he's being shown, and we're seeing him through Vime's eyes most of the time. But yeah, he does kind of I'm not gonna say the F word on this, but he does kind of lose some of his depths as the series goes on.
I think part of that is just
shows up less.
I think part of it is just he shows up less because there's a lot of other great characters in the Watch. The Watch becomes Discworld's ensemble cast series. It is primarily about Vimes most of the time, especially some books like Night Watch, which is just the Vimes book, which is why I love it so much. But like, yeah, I think really you can kind of see like the beginning of this book, looking at Vimes, looking at Carrot and stuff, is very what Discworld was before, and the end of this book is very what Discworld will be after Eric.
It is going to be a little bit difficult when we get to the rankings, which we're probably going to do in like as soon as I finish this sentence. But we really have to remember that we're judging this book as just Guards, and not the rest of the Discworld books for all time.
Can do.
You're right. Anyways, let's go to the rankings. Now that you mentioned it, thank you for giving me a perfect on-ramp for that.
Wait, real quick.
Always happy to help.
We didn't do the thing. What was everyone's favorite joke in this book?
Oh my god.
Oh god, we just spent the last hour and a half talking about that.
All right, I got one. Well, I'll be honest, it's a tie between two. It was either the fact that the lady who runs the brothel is named Rosie Palm, or what was the other one? Fuck. Or it was the other really good, like, you know, put a joke grenade down and keep going joke, which was Vimes is like, yo, why are you serving me this love in a canoe coffee?
Yeah, that's fair. Actually, I really liked the running joke about how the oaths that the Brotherhood swore contained a bunch of words that nobody actually knew the meaning to, and most notably the word figgin gets used, getting your figgin roasted. And then it's just figgins come up like 12 other times throughout the book, and in fact, the point at which Colin just casually offers the thief, you're like, oh, would you like a roast figgin? And the thief just screams, runs out the door, and just escapes the narrative completely.
That's such a good payoff to that joke. I even though it's near the beginning and it's very old Discworld, I think the joke maybe that made me laugh the hardest is at the very beginning, where he goes up and tries to do the secret society passcode, and they go back and forth like 3 times, and it gets to the third one, it's like, wait, it's not this? It's not... Oh no, that's the place down the street. Okay, yeah, sorry. Just the idea that there's so many.
Are you sure the narwhal doesn't bacon at midnight? No. He,
God.
he does this other thing.
Grace.
Oh, you want a different brotherhood? We're the sanctum of the 12 dipshits.
The joke of them being like, not just that they have the same thing, but there's enough.
This happens a
different
lot.
Places in the city that this happens frequently. It's such a good gag. It got
and
me.
that they all sort of know one another's back and forth call signs because there's so much of this confusion,
and
completely defeating the purpose of these call signs to
and
begin
in fact,
with.
like the first several exchanges are the same, or at least there's enough overlap that like you can be well into a conversation before you realize, oh wait, this is the wrong secret society. My mistake.
It was a really that was a bit that made me laugh a lot.
Yeah. So my favorite joke, it was, I mean, this is the most base fucking thing, but this was from when they were first meeting, the Watch was first meeting Sybil as kind of an ensemble for the first time. Mm-hmm. For a moment, the rank, which by the way, they don't refer to the Watch as the rank and file, just the rank throughout most of this book, which is a great joke in and of itself, but for a moment, the rank felt as though they had just returned from single-handedly conquering a distant province. They felt, in fact, tremendously bucked up, which was how Lady Ramkin would almost certainly have put it, and which was definitely several letters of the alphabet away from how they normally felt.
Yeah.
Yes, again, just
great.
a beautiful grenade.
Yeah.
And it just keeps going. So good.
Yeah. He really trusts his jokes here.
Yeah, he doesn't. He explains a few of them, but when he takes a long walk to a joke, it pays off.
Mm-hmm. Just really fantastic.
Good.
All right, are we ready to get to rankings yet?
One more thing. Pratchett does mention that the dragon has egg-bearing hips.
Yes, I didn't want to say it, but yes, I did underline that part in my text. Thank you.
Yes, they said that, and yes, it was.
I was wondering if any of the furries on this podcast would mention
Thank you. Yes, I did.
June, you're also a furry.
Shush! You don't know that. You can't.
Yes,
prove
I do,
that.
June. I've seen your persona.
You can't
She's very
prove
good
that.
mouse.
Shush.
Anyways,
It's not a. Oh wait, no, yeah. Anyways,
oh, you forgot about your alt sona. That'd be pretty good if you tricked her into saying, "Oh no, it's a bug actually," and then. Anyways, so ranking. Would we say that this book is better than The Color of Magic? Do I even need to?
we don't have. What's the top of the list?
Top of the list right now is Mort. Do we think this book is better than Mort?
yes.
Honestly, I think I would give this better. Yeah. This was higher than
this
Mort.
is. I think I was gonna say this at the start, but I think this is like the best Discworld book I've read so far. I think this is. It kind of feels like a watershed. Part of that is like, I've been told that many times, but like, this is like, I liked it a lot more. It felt like good things were going to happen. I cared about just about everyone in the book in a way that I couldn't say about the others.
This episode is running long, and it's because we all were gushing over practically every paragraph in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like also more shit happens in it.
Yeah, we are restructuring the synoptics section because there's just too much stuff going on.
As much as I really like Mort and was the one defending it last time, I gotta say I think this is better than Mort, just on a purely more of the jokes worked, more of the everything worked together. And you can say that like Mort does some much more interesting things, and I would agree, but also like I think the things this book does are really cool, and I like them, and I like talking about them, and I went on a long diatribe about, like, the cops and such, because I think that watching how that evolves through the Watch book is really interesting.
I'm going to remember the female characters in this book.
Yeah.
I have great news about the rest of the Watch books.
Yeah. Let me ask one question. Where was the slowest part of this book?
I feel like it was kind of around when, either right before or right after the dragon became king. Because after the dragon became king, it kind of felt like everyone was kind of waiting around to figure out what to do about that a little bit.
Yeah, okay, I will grant. It's like the narrative kind of hits a wall at the halfway point and just slides down it before it gets moving again.
Yeah, hey, before we move the plot forward, I got some takes to drop on you.
Right. And, like, my point was that this book never really... That is, like, the only point where it stops running.
Mm-hmm.
This book gets up to speed and just keeps going aside from one speed bump. Every other book we've done has like these long stretches where just nothing seems to happen.
Yeah.
Again, this book was dense. This was just... There was a lot going on the whole way through.
I would have either said that or, like, you know, the point where, like, the Watch is starting to, like, do some detecting, but we're waiting for them to figure out what we already know. But even that was good because you get to see, like, the light bulb go on in everyone's heads and have them realize, oh, something's up. Something is weird and up. And, like, I am a hopeless Ace Attorney fan, and so I'll always enjoy, like, watching the moment of, like, you know, wait a minute. The dragon walked out of something it did not walk into. Mm-hmm. What the fuck?
Almost Christmas means it wasn't Christmas.
I'd say, honestly, the slowest part of the book was the very beginning with Carrot.
Yeah.
Aside from that, I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Also, can we talk about how there's like 3 jokes about how Carrot is wearing a cup the whole time, and everyone else thinks that's weird?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'll admit it actually made some good jokes. Like he gets into a bar brawl and occasionally there's the sound of somebody kicking a gong.
Yeah, or like when they all think Carrot drowned in the lake, they're like, well, you know,
because
do you think his they keep calling it a protective with a capital P, which is very funny. And also, you know, do you think it like filled up with water and tugged him to the bottom?
It felt like Terry, like, in the first draft of this book, Terry made a lot of jokes about how big Carrot's dick was and then had to reel it back a little bit.
Yeah. Which, works.
Well, as I said, he was originally the protagonist.
Yeah, I can see that.
Terry Pratchett is still a British dude.
Yeah.
But I will say, like, I think this book worked altogether. I think it's like... The first Discworld book, I really enjoyed Wyrd Sisters, and I have a feeling I'll like future books like it more. But I think part of the thing is Wyrd Sisters had a lot of weird plot elements. That just kind of made me be like, huh, okay, I don't know what you're doing with this. This didn't really have that.
Yeah.
Most of the stuff in it, I didn't mind, or the times when I was like, that doesn't work. It was cool. It happens. Sometimes it's just kind of dumb. Like, the rest of the book was good enough.
I'm going to be real with you right now. There's going to be Witches books that get much higher than this book on the ranking.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
oh, yeah.
I'm excited.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. Just as you are the Watch liker, I am the Witch liker. So expect us to butt heads in the future about this.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. Thankfully, June already got there first. I was going to ask, like, just for the sake of completeness, was this better than Wyrd Sisters? Because remember how hard we fought back and forth on which
I feel
one of those
like
two
this
was
and
better.
Wyrd Sisters are very of a piece, because Wyrd Sisters also in this similar way kind of establishes a lot of stuff that Terry will do better in later witch books. I still begrudgingly could be persuaded that Mort is slightly better than Wyrd Sisters, but I do think this book is objectively better than Mort.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that objective measurements exist.
That's
like that.
true.
Having said that, this book is objectively better than Mort.
Yeah.
Fair. All right, so before we go, we did get a piece of fan mail. We got an email from Jay, last name redacted. Hi, Jay. Hey, y'all. I have been listening to the Discworld books via audiobook and have almost finished all of the City Watch books. The Watch books are, in my mind, proof that Sir Terry couldn't write a neurotypical protagonist if he tried. He's got 2 main characters in Vimes and Carrot, and they're both autistic. My reasoning, you may ask? I'm on the spectrum, and I like them. With love, Jay, they/it.
Yeah.
That is...
I like the confidence. I love that
is
confidence.
rock solid reasoning, and I would never deny that.
Yeah, 100% agree.
I will say, in a very joking way, I mean, obviously, neurodivergent people are just more interesting to write about.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Better stories.
For sure.
We're just cooler to tell stories about. But also, at the same time, I think there genuinely is, like, without going into specific neurodivergences, because, I mean, I probably almost certainly have ADHD and might have other stuff, who the fuck knows, but, like, without going into specific things, I think in general Pratchett likes writing books about people who don't exactly fit the mean of society. He wants to write books about weirdos who are slightly outside of it and who are compelling for their differences compared to it. And like that leads to writing characters who are neurodivergent, because writing stories about straight cis white dudes who are normal in every way is not interesting. It's just boring. In fact, I could say that like by writing comedy stories, which is what he's setting out to do, he kind of goes, what's a non-standard protagonist here? And in doing so ends up finding much better protagonists, because the standard protagonist is the protagonist that society expects, and it sucks.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
That guy sucks.
Yeah.
Who cares about him?
If you want to like comment on society, if you like have things to say about how society is structured and the society that we do live in,
we live in a society?
yeah, I hate to break it to you like this.
Holy
Society?
shit!
Yeah, I'm sorry I had to
What
find
the
out
fuck?
this way, but regardless, yeah, you have to like, okay, I, how do I express this out without sounding like the Joker? It's a lot easier to, you gotta be a little twisted. Like, if you want to like have your point of view character express your or really any thoughts about how things are structured and to criticize them, they have to differ. They have to like, literal-minded Carrot comes in, which, yeah, honestly, I'm autistic too, and I can see where you're coming from, guy. Like, comes in and is, having a little bit of trouble grasping the, what do you mean we don't enforce the law? Aren't we the police situation? And, like, gives us a way to talk about, well, our job isn't to protect anyone or solve crimes or arrest anyone. Our job is to ring this bell because of the nature of politics of power and the unwritten rules of our society. It's good shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really easy to analyze that, especially given that. And having said that, obviously, every single character that you like is autistic, because that makes them cooler.
Yeah.
They're also probably trans, and if you have any other adjectives you want to add to them that make them weirdos in the best sense of the word, as I am myself, please do. Incidentally, this does actually remind me of, I cannot wait, because in just a few books, I'm going to get to plug the greatest fanfic that was ever written about Discworld, and I'm so excited with the premise of sort of trans femme Carrot, and it's the best thing ever written, but I have to wait 2 more watch books to plug it.
Thank God.
And I'm very excited.
I mean, that one's short enough. We could practically just slap it onto the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just put it in the description when the time comes, but it doesn't work until.
Oh
we
yeah,
get,
no,
we
we haven't had the base other. We need more watch before we can
Yes.
actually do that.
Yes.
Okay.
Anyways.
That was our analysis of Guards, slotting in at a new #1 spot in our ranking. Wow.
Hell yeah, I knew we could do it.
Yeah.
Iris, I hate to do this to you. We have to push this back one more
Oh,
time.
what? Yes.
Dear viewers, I finally read that one essay someone mentioned.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
same,
we read
same.
that.
finally did
One of
Yeah,
us finally remembered. I've had
No,
that
I
tab
read it.
open since it came up the
Yeah,
first time.
yeah.
I will say, I think it was interesting, and I think it betrayed... So one of the things it talks about is the ways that it's different between the way, like, magic for men in books and magic for women is portrayed. I think kind of the problem is the essay is very jokey. He's very much like, haha, here's a bunch of fun jokes. My wife.
Yeah,
Am I right?
Yeah, he
At
does
times-
like do an aside about, well, my
But,
wife
like-
tells me this after she's been to her empowerment meetings.
Like, he's making
Yeah.
that joke to cover for his very obviously genuine thoughts. And I think what you find is as Discworld gets further into it, further into the Witches series, and eventually into the Tiffany Aching series, which I have talked to my girlfriend about a lot, and I think are some of the smartest about this period, Pratchett really goes from, I'm making jokes to avoid the fact that I care about this, to I'm making jokes, and I care about this a lot. And I want it to be fundamentally something we understand.
God, I can't wait to get to the Tiffany Aching books because I haven't read those yet, and I'm really excited to.
Same.
But yeah, extremely
But yeah,
well put.
it's a good essay, but I think Pratchett will do better than that in his own books eventually.
Fuck yeah.
I can't wait for him to move on from like, well, oh yeah, I love women. I'm married to one. Yeah. My wife, who is a woman.
So that the audience has some context here, the essay is called Why Gandalf Never Married, and it was recommended to us after Sourcery.
Yep.
Oh yeah, thank you.
But yeah, thank you very much for recommending that. This has been Disc Coverers. We appreciate you listening to this enthusiastically kind of longish episode. We hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. Feel free to read along with us and form your own opinions. They might differ from ours. Your ranking might be different. That is well within your rights. We don't want to hear... Well, no, we do want to hear about it desperately.
No,
we want to hear about it so bad. Tell us what you think and tell us if you think we're wrong. We are on social media at DiscPod on Twitter and on the decentralized social media platform Mastodon at discpod@queer.party. You can also send us a more eloquent and long message through our email address, disc@hypnovire.us. That's disc@hypnovir.us. Shoot us a line sometime. We'd love to hear your thoughts on anything Discworld related. But yeah, I'm Iris J. You can find me online at Iris J Comics on Twitter and mastodon.social. IrisJ.net. I also have a Patreon, patreon.com/IrisJ. Anyways, y'all plug your stuff too.
I'm Juniper, at Juniper Theory on Twitter and on Twitch. Normally I would use this to plug something, but instead I'm going to use it to mourn the beloved Hawaii Fridays from
Did they
Baseball
die?
who died during this podcast.
No!
They died during the podcast.
They did?
They died.
Oh,
during the
Here lies the
podcast.
Hawaii Fridays.
Beautiful.
They never scored. Well, no, they scored quite a
Congratulations,
bit.
folks. You now know exactly when this was recorded.
By the time this podcast comes out, they'll probably be alive again or
This
something.
podcast is now a time capsule. Now, called shot here. By the time this episode comes out, they will be reincarnated as the Hawaii Saturdays. Thank you.
Fuck yeah, I hope so.
Oh.
That would
Okay,
be very
I am still Balina. I am still working on my first major great work, but in the meantime, keep an eye out at Wolf Cow. That's WOLFCAU, or keep an eye on your local Lone and Level Sands, and behold my works and despair.
Hell fucking yeah.
And I am, as always, the internet's beloved Princess Grace. You can find my writing, programs, podcast posts, and everything else that's fit to plug at princess.software.
Wow. Thanks for listening, folks. Tune in next month for Eric, which is a book.
Oh,
We have
God.
been
I can
joking.
guarantee next time won't be nearly as long as this
Sure
one.
won't. It won't be a long episode. It may be a little bit of a brisk one, shall we say?
If we want to talk about like the video games or stuff, this might be a good
Yeah,
time.
maybe a little break or something. I know I already wanted to do a break like once we get to like the halfway point in the list, we can take like a break and I don't know, talk about other stuff, or maybe talk about like ancillary Discworld books or something. I don't know. That idea isn't fully formed yet, but something like that. But yeah, no, next week it's kind of it's kind of gonna be a chiller, looser episode. Before we dive,
Because the book's bad.
yeah, it's not very good, but it's also not very long, so that's cool. But yeah, till next time, keep on diskin', baby, yo.
Truly, they were the guards.
Guards.
No, they're the watch.
God damn it.